Application servers have a really cool functionality. They're basically, most app servers are written in Java. It's a JTB environment. They're written on Tomcat or JBoss. And they can serve not just web pages, but applications for things like web services. And what you do as a developer, a lot of what the Flex development projects are that I see has to do with grabbing some sort of content and being able to build a user interface for it. And I'll just show you how this is not very hard with Flash Builder, and I'm going to do it without writing a line of code in one of these instances. Actually, maybe so I got a CD onto my desktop to the Unix shell here, and start up Tomcat instance on port 8400. This is what evangelists do. You have to memorize all these reusers codes and stuff. On my local host, I've now got this. This is a list of wines in XML. So this is a great list of wines of notable vintages. It's got a hierarchy of the wines as the root element, vintage, and then in each vintage there's 5 different branches. And Flex developers in Vancouver alone, beginner people who are doing internships start off at about 50 to 60 a year. Middle pay grade is around $80,000, and this is the kind of stuff you do on a daily basis. And there's a huge demand for people to do this in Vancouver alone. Every company that's developing something kind of puts the UI technology on the last piece of the application. They kind of have the story roughed out, but they don't actually build the user interface until the rest of it's been built. And with applications in their architecture migrating to this kind of distributed model, cloud computing, service-oriented architecture, the principles of REST built into a lot of applications, this part is becoming really, really important. So a typical thing would be, how do you build an application that takes this and displays it in a data grid in Flash? Yeah, that sounds pretty hard, but I can probably do it in under 2 minutes even while explaining it. So first thing I do is copy and paste the URL. I'm going to go here and set up a brand new project, and this one is going to be called BCIT2, and I'll run this one in the Flash player. And this particular one, we're going to go down to the Data Services tab, and this is a new tab for the Flash Builder fork, and we're going to connect to an HTTP service. And it asks us what the URL is. We fill it in here, and it asks us for a service name. So in this case, it gets a wines listing. I'm going to say get wines. And we hit finish. Now we've got our operation built. The operation right now, this has a default return type of object, which is a binary return type. Before we actually bind it, we need to understand what the object is that's going to be returned. This can make the call that will get the object back, but we need to figure out how to manipulate it to put different parts of it in different parts of our user interface. So you go down, configure return type, auto detect a return type from sample data. If you require authentication, you go in. We don't. We're going to say enter a URL, and there's our URL again. We paste it in there. And we say go out, get it. It comes back, and look at this. It actually has captured the hierarchy that was present in the original XML. So it knows there's a root hierarchy of wines, then one of vintage. And then the cool thing is that it actually knows if I select the root of vintage, that it's an array because it has several vintage elements that repeat. And this will allow us to build a really cool application in very few minutes by taking a data grid, dragging it up here, going down to the services, drag the service on there, let it go, and it will ask us how we want to configure it. We want our array coming back. It configures this out, and I now run it, and it'll come back, and it'll give a list of wines on a data grid. And what's cool is it figured out for us how to take each one of those recurring nodes of XML and make a different row in the data grid for each of those, and then iterate over the XML till the last one was there. Use the element name as the column heading, and each node was put on a different row until the end of it. How many lines of code did I write? It's pretty cool, then.
Did it freak out like that? Not applicable. That was there a dead piece of data there? Like this thing pick up if the original set wasn't complete?
Well, it would if you had like this
One piece of